All right, everyone, we're going to have a important discussion today on a very important topic on what is going on with really the H-1B and the depth of the analysis of it that is required for people to really understand. We're going to provide a systems analysis. We have a very important title. Yeah, 1 second, Suresh. Yeah. And we're going to go live, and we're going to do this as a Twitter space. I'm also going to have this on Twitter here. So let me present the Twitter space here. And I think I should be able to bring it in here. Let me go to the Twitter space screen here. Here we go. Okay, so those of you at home should also be able to see, or we're streaming it also on what's called Twitter Space. Some of you may know what Twitter Space is. So we have it on Twitter Space as well as we have it live right here. So we have, I have two co-hosts that are joining me, Suresh Ramaya, who actually came here on an H-1B. And then we also have Alan Erickson, who Alan and I worked with very closely on the Real Indian, Fake Indian campaign. Some of you may remember when I ran against Elizabeth Warren. So let me start by, first of all, introducing our two co-hosts. Suresh, would you like to just say hello to everyone?
Hey, everybody. This is Suresh from Buffalo, New York.
Good. Alan?
How you guys doing? It's Alan Erickson from Pepperell, Mass.
So we have our two hosts, and let me introduce myself. This is Dr.SHIVA Adure, and we're going to have a conversation here. And the title that I put it out there, which I think is the appropriate title. And first of all, let me tell you, Black people don't own the word niggas, okay? I've been called nigga most of my life growing up in New Jersey. It is a very important term for people to use to understand slavery and indentured servitude. In fact, the first slaves were Indians who were taken out of India for many, many years. So Black people out there, you don't own the word niggas, okay? So get over it, okay? Because there are a lot of Indian niggas right now. In fact, there's house niggers and field niggas. I happen to be a field nigger who got off the plantation. But most of the Indians who came to the United States are house niggas, and we're going to discuss that. It's very important to understand this dynamic of and why we must use these appropriate words. Malcolm X used the word house slave and field slave, but it's more important to use these words. The Black rap artists do not own this term. In fact, it's a quite widely used term, and we should use it appropriately. So if you have a problem with that, you can just leave the space, okay? That's my position on this. We have to use poetic and politics where it's appropriate. Alan, do you have a problem with using that term?
Absolutely not. I often describe Dr. Shiva as one of the realest niggas in the game. It's just about being genuine and being real. So no, I have no issue with the word.
Suresh, do you have any problem with that as a very dark-skinned Indian man?
No, I don't have an issue, but that's how the establishment views us. So I don't have any problem.
Okay. All right. So let's start the discussion. Again, to be clear, today's discussion in the context of all the noise that two plantation owners, Vivek the Snake and Elon Musk, have dredged up on one side of the plantation, and the Zionists on the other side have dredged up, claiming to represent the American working class. So let's put this into context. In the 1950s, the immigration, naturalization acts were passed, which allowed people from other countries to come to the United States to help in the United States labor force, because there was a recognition there was not enough people within the U.S. labor force. So that's where all of this actually started, okay? And then in 1990, this got expanded. They had, I think, the H-1A, and then it became the H-1B. And you can look up the details. You can find it all over the map. And the H-1B expanded to include all different types of workers who could come into the United States, okay? The reality was most of those workers ended up coming from India. A large factor, much more. If China was like 30,000, Indians were like 260,000 who used the H-1B to come to the United States, a H-1B on a, temporary business visa. And so what was this for? Well, let me give you a little bit of context of this, where all of this came from. And I'm a child of that in a very deep way, in a very profound way. During the Kennedy administration and the Johnson administration, it was recognized that the United States didn't have enough technical labor force. So they opened up the immigration gates to allow very, very highly skilled workers from India to come here, the best of the best. To give you an idea, my dad came here in 1968, 69. He was one of the premier engineers of India, a chemical engineer who came from nothing and was a super brain. I mean, he, at the age of 28, 29, he was running massive factories, manufacturing factories. His boss sent him for training to Unilever in the United States. When he came here in 1968, 69, he was working in Chicago for Unilever, and his person who was supposed to train him said, his name was Aya Dure. They said Dure, and they called him Dure. They said, we can't teach you anything. You know more than us. So, and they wanted to recruit him. Now, he was very loyal to his Indian employer, and he chose not to do that. When he went back to India, he told his employer, you know, they want me to come. And his employer was a very interesting guy, a serious entrepreneur. He said, you know, Dure, you should go. It would be good for your family. And so he actually supported my dad, and my dad came here the next year, and that was when the recession hit in 1970. And my dad came here with about $75 in his pocket to the United States, okay? And he settled in New Jersey, and subsequently we waited a year, and through legal immigration, my parents came. Now, this was at a time in the United States where when my sister and I went to school, out of 4,000 kids, there was only one Indian. So we had to, my dad would get paid 1/3 the wage of his white counterpart. And then my mom came, a serious mathematician who, again, had come from nothing. So here were two of India's brain trusts who came here because of the massive caste system in India. And we'll get to that. And I grew up in working class neighborhoods in New Jersey. And my friends were everyday white working class people. I played baseball, mowed lawns, lived the classic American life, fully integrated into American culture. And, you know, went on to build the first email system as a 14-year-old kid, came to MIT, the #1 engineering school in the world, did 4 degrees, started 7 companies, created tens of thousands of jobs in the United States, and gave my life to this country. And many of you know I ran for Senate, then for President of the United States. I'm as patriotic as it gets, fully integrated into the culture of this country. And my parents went through that entire process of truly being serious immigrants. Now, this is very different than the immigration that took place about 30 years later. And Suresh, I want you to talk briefly about the H-1B. So 1990, Suresh will talk about what the H-1B is. The Bush administration pushed the H-1B to invite another wave of foreign workers, okay? Remember, the first wave was these really, really super smart people, very restricted number of people. Gobind Khurana came from India here. He couldn't get a job in India as a lecturer. He ended up winning the Nobel Prize in medicine. My dad ended up running all of manufacturing for Colgate-Palmolive. Great, phenomenal brainiac, my dad. So during the period of the 70s and 80s, the American immigration system allowed only the best, okay? In the 90s, they needed more computer scientists, you know, technical engineers. If you remember, the Y2K was coming. People thought the world was going to blow up. All the computers would not work with the 2000 bug. And the .com was occurring in the mid-90s. So the gates were open for H-1Bs. And the predominant number of people that came were this next wave of Indians. But I got to tell you, the next wave of Indians who came were not the creme de la creme, okay? And we'll talk about it after Suresh gives what is the H-1B. The people that came were just trying to get out of India. Many of them trying to get any angle to get to the United States. And they came through an ecosystem of outsourcing companies, body shops, brokers, but it was intended for U.S. employers. I had a company then called EchoMail for real employers to get really good people from India. And we would have, you know, I think I brought in about 5 or 10 H-1B people. But what ended up happening was these big outsourcing companies funded by Silicon Valley, these big brokers scammed the entire H-1B system. And we'll talk about that. And what you ended up happening, the end state was you got all these Indian niggas coming here. Most of them house niggas who didn't give a fuck about America, who didn't give a fuck about India. They came here and they would send pictures back to on Facebook to their family back in India, how they got in their new Toyota car and how they were driving around, never integrated into American life, didn't give a fuck about this country. And this is by and large. There could be some exceptions, but very insular, into this very insulated life of taking money from the United States, shipping it back to India, and would work for anything, indentured servants. And we'll come back to that. So when Suresh gives the H-1B, what we're going to really talk about is, after that, this ecosystem, you're going to understand the real ecosystem of the scam. Then you're going to understand how Silicon Valley, Elon Musk, Vivek the Snake, and all of these people profited from this. All the people who funded Trump profited from all of this. And then we're going to talk about how this latest H-1B discourse that's taking place is nothing but a fucking distraction to distract you and the American workers and workers from all backgrounds not to unite, while the Silicon Valley Zionist swarm has been raping the American people for the last 70 years. That's what we really need to talk about. Why have wages really been in decline? But before I go there, let me have Suresh. Suresh, can you tell us from a ground level your journey? Now, here's Suresh, who came from India. And by the way, Suresh is one of the rare ones who was one of the best of India. He went to Anna University, was a gold medalist. The H-1B program was to identify people like him, not scammers. And by the way, Suresh has put his butt on the line. When he came here, he didn't take the vaccine. He supports our movement. 99.999% of these Indian fucking house niggas will not do any of that. They're fucking little spineless assholes. Go ahead, Suresh.
Thanks, Dr. SHIVA. So what is H-1B? H-1B is a non-immigrant visa in the United States that allows U.S. employers to hire foreign workers in specialized fields. So there are some eligibility requirements, like you must have some specialized knowledge. The applicant must at least hold a bachelor's degree and must demonstrate the role cannot readily be filled by U.S. workers. And then there's a key feature about duration. It's initially granted for up to 3 years, and then you have an option to extend it up to a maximum of 6 years. And then extensions beyond 6 years may be possible under specific conditions, such as pending green card applications. And the visa is employer specific, meaning the worker can only work for sponsoring employer. If you have to work for a new employer, then you have to require a new H-1B petition. And then there's another key feature of H-1B visa, which is the lottery system. Because of the high demand, the visa is subject to an annual cap of 65,000. There's a 65,000 regular cap, and then there is a 20,000 additional visas for individuals who have master's degree in the US. And then applications exceeding the cap are entered into this lottery system. They can change employers, but they must file a new H-1B petition, and then they can apply for visas for their dependents. That visa is called H4. H is a category of a visa. And in some cases, the H4 visa holders can obtain work authorization. The H-1B holders can apply for green card without jeopardizing their visa status. So original purpose, the intended purpose of the H-1B visa was designed to address US labor shortages in specialized fields like STEM, right? They want to target workers like scientists, educators, engineers, healthcare professionals, and IT specialists. There were shortages of skilled workers such as biotech, research, other advanced research, software development. The goal was to supplement US workforce, not to displace it or replace it, and to attract the global talent to maintain the US the United States' competitive edge in technology and other key industries, that was the intended purpose for H-1B visa. But then came the exploitation. So that's the basics of H-1B, Dr. Shiva.
Yeah, so the basics, let me just go back to this. The basics of the H-1B, just to be clear, when it first started, were, and this was essentially why, my parents first came here in 1970, was the United States was looking to backfill its shortages in technical manpower. So they invited people, and my dad and my mom were one of the, my dad was, as I mentioned, an engineer and a mathematician. And then in 1990, Suresh, they needed more people as the dot-com boom was occurring. If you remember 1993, the World Wide Web was created, and then this Y2K stuff was happening. So just to keep it clear, again, to keep it simple, the H-1B is a visa. And to those of you who are very new to immigration concepts, so if an Indian wanted to come to the United States, they could do it two ways, right? They could come here on what's called a green card. Someone here sponsors them. Very difficult to get. Or how do people become citizens of the United States? They marry someone here, right? That's another way, right, Suresh? Or it could happen, a husband and wife come here and they have a child here. That child is born here. That child becomes a citizen. But the H-1B, someone says, yes, it's a U.S. work visa that allows foreign nationals to work in a specialty occupation for a U.S. employer, okay? So it was intended for employers, direct employers. Like, let's say, Alan, you and I started a company, right? And it was very hard for us to hire people. So we could hire a specialized guy from India because it was hard to find labor shortages here. This was the concept. And they would come directly work for us. So that person in India would apply for an H-1B to come to my company X or Y or Z, and then I would sponsor them. And the H-1B was for 6 years, right, Suresh? The visa length was 6 years. Now, after 6 years, if they wanted to stay here longer, I had to file for them to become a U.S. citizen, what's called a green card. That would give them a 3-year extension. And once I filed the green card, we're waiting for the green card to be processed, but they get 3 more years. And then you could increment up to 1-year increments more, but the H-1B ended after 10 years, right? You couldn't go more than 10 years. Okay, that's what it was intended for. So now during that period, 1990s and 2000, many people started outsourcing companies. So now let me talk about the ecosystem. What was an outsourcing company? An outsourcing company was where a guy had a company in India, which would maybe, go through code, COBOL code, for example, or Fortran code, and wherever it said 1999, it was going to change to 2000, he would correct the code. So you basically had a bunch of monkeys in India. It's not really that, sorry to use that word, but that's what it was, right, Suresh? Monkey work. You would have sweatshops of 30,000 Indians in a sweatshop, and they would get US code and they would change it. Very simple work. And this was called outsourcing. So Indian companies would come to big companies like Ford or IBM. They say, oh, we have 30,000 employees in India. Why don't you outsource that work, which is going to cost $50 an hour? I could do it for 50 cents an hour. Right, Suresh? So these big companies in India started outsourcing work. So that was one ecosystem of companies, outsourcing companies. Okay. Companies were like Cognizant, TCS, Infosys. Okay. Many people came to me. They said, Dr. Shiva, you should start an outsourcing company. You could be a billionaire. I frankly had no interest in any of this. I was interested in innovative product development. But many of these people would just set up some shop and go to US companies and outsource. So that was the outsourcing companies. If you want to write that down, outsourcing companies. Then there were middlemen brokers. People knew nothing about computer science, nothing about software, okay? These were middlemen companies who were sometimes called body shops. They would start a company in India, and sometimes that company had 15 different shell companies. So if they wanted to, let's say, Alan, you were in India and I wanted you to come here on an H-1B, I would pay Alan maybe only what, like Suresh, 20,000 rupees in India, right? A month?
Yeah.
which would be like what, 240,000 rupees, maybe $5,000. So Alan would get paid $5,000 annually in India, but then he would be billed out in the United States at like 100,000, right? 20x, right, Suresh? Or 50x.
Yeah.
So a company in India finds Alan, who's working in some, some graduate, then they place him in the United States in a company like American Express. Okay. And someone says, get to the point, sir. Well, if you don't want to know the background, you can get the fuck out. So get the fuck out. Okay. I like to explain the background. All right, you're gone. So the background is, so you had these middlemen companies who started scamming the system. They would, remember the US had, I think, only 60,000 H-1Bs, right, Suresh? Or a limited number of total number of H-1Bs in any one year. So these middlemen, slave traders, you can think about them. That's what they really were, brokers. They would find some young guy coming out of university in India, pay him $5,000 or even less, and they would try to get an H-1B visa using his resume. Now, when you file for an H-1B, it's a lottery, right, Suresh? It goes to the bottom of a pile. So they would start 20 different companies and have 20 different companies file for that guy, scamming the system. You following? And sometimes they would get 5 different H-1B visas for one guy. Okay, so brokers in India, some of them would get 40,000. They would get 40,000 of the H-1B lotteries. Now multiply 40,000 by what, Suresh? $50,000. What do you get? What's 40,000 times $50,000? You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, and these brokers would typically take 70% of that. So you had overnight these brokerage companies in India making a shitload of money. So on the one hand, you have outsourcing companies, outsourcing sort of this nominal menial work back to India. And then you also have, and by the way, H-1Bs not only go to India, they go to other countries. About 1/5 of them went to China and I think other European countries. But anyway, majority was all India. And these other companies, these brokerage companies, are placing people in US offices, physically, internally here. And they're making money that way, okay? These people who come here on H-1Bs that, let's say, Alan, you were there, right? And you came here. Alan's a young kid. This broker is like the slave trader. He's placing him in a US company. Alan owes everything to that broker, his future, his life. He's got to pay that. The money, his salary is actually given to the broker. So the guy may be living in a small dormitory in the United States, and the broker sometimes would hold the money, hold salary, okay? So these indentured servants are beholden to who? The broker. And those individuals would eke out a living, and then at the same time, over time, by early 2000, mid 2000, as these H-1B people are here, some of them became mid-level managers. And guess what? They start outsourcing labor from the H-1B companies back to these outsourcing companies. Okay? And the ratio, Suresh, I think was 1 to 9. For every one H-1B job here, there were 9 Indians in India. Okay? Hope this is all making sense.
Dr. Shiva, if I can just ask a quick question here.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of blowing my mind. So you're telling me that when these Indians on these H-1B visas are here in the United States, a majority of their income is still going to these essentially slave merchants in India.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Oh,
slave merchants. So, for example, Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of India, his wife was the daughter of one of the biggest slave merchants of India, Infosys. You can look it up. Infosys built a massive company in India doing this kind of outsourcing slave merchantry. Okay, got it? And the daughter of the multi-billionaire of India is the wife of Rishi Sunak, which is the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister of Britain. Got it? Got it? All right. Now, I was in the middle of this in 1993. I had started a tech company in the United States. People had invited me to go to India. I remember going to India. There was a company with 300 people. The guy wanted me to buy his company. He was going bankrupt, but he was trying to do everything Alan. And I wanted to do real innovation. Out of those 300 people, I fired 90% of them, Alan. Most of them were useless. Their degrees were useless in India. And I kept maybe 10 of them. And I wanted to do product innovation. So I actually bought some really good people here on H-1Bs. Wow. I didn't do with brokers, Alan.
Yeah.
I brought them here to help the American economy, okay? Not the other way around, okay? Very important to understand this. So what ended up happening was by 2000, by 2020, Silicon Valley, now this is a third ecosystem, David Sachs, Vivek the Snake, Elon Musk's, all of the backers of Trump now, okay? All of these scumbags in Silicon Valley, they all profited immensely from the slave trade, Alan. They profited from investing in those outsourcing companies, which grew enormously. They got traded on the Indian stock market and the US stock market, okay?
Dude.
All right? So Indian Silicon Valley people who funded Trump made billions, trillions off investing in Indian outsourcing and broker companies. Understand this, including all of Elon Musk's friends. Please understand this. And who's the middle little people here? These spineless Indians, the second wave of Indians who came here, Alan and Suresh and everyone else listening, who are not like my parents, devoted to America to fight. They're coming here. Oh, we're so happy to be in America. Give you an idea how fucked up this is. You have an Indian guy coming here. He's so happy to make it to the United States, you know? First time he gets to drive his car. First time he's got his own apartment. And then when he comes here, he'd stay here a few years. And then his parents, now he becomes an eligible bachelor in India, Alan. He goes back to India and gets a better wife. India still has a dowry system, okay? He goes back to some village and gets a woman to be his wife. And the parents of that woman have to give this guy dowry money. So he makes money that way. Brings this woman here who had a huge family in India, lots of friends. There are so many stories of Indian women marrying these Indian guys coming here, living in some suburb, and these women would kill themselves. Literally, this is no joke. It's very sad. Huge epidemic of Indian women coming here, feeling so out of place, Alan, killing themselves, okay? Very much like the old slave trade, okay? Being taken out of your homeland. So
this is crazy, man, because I think the biggest misconception I've been seeing on Twitter is, you know, people heard about these H-1B ones and these Indians coming over, and their immediate reaction is, oh, they're taking our jobs. But in reality, this is a global slave trade.
It's a global slave trade where the Silicon Valley people are making money, massive money. All the people back Trump made money and still make money off of this slave trade. The Indian elite make money off of this. And all the people surrounding Trump and Biden all have made money off of this. Meanwhile, these Indians who come here are no different than the illegal immigrants who come over the border, Alan. They make it over because they're allowed to come over and they live in fear, so they work for nothing. Same way these Indian indentured servants come here and they're so happy to be in the United States, they never participate in the U.S. world. Obviously, Alan, how many of them did you see supporting our campaign? You didn't. How many Indians did you see, Alan? Nobody. Did you? Nobody.
Very few. Very, very few.
If you look at when I ran for president of the United States and Senate, you would think Indians would come out to support us. No, Indians are fucking spineless, most of them. And we'll get to that why. Okay? Indians, since for the last 300 years, have been made spineless by British colonialism. And now you have a new neo-colonialism in the United States. So what you fundamentally have is this pool of Indians who are brought here, are, you know, working around, you know, get some mid-level management positions, and then outsource the work back to their Indian counterparts, Alan, okay? But all of this, the billions of dollars are being made by Silicon Valley and by the bourgeois elites of India. Does this make sense? Yes, it's an international players club. That's what it is. Okay, that's an important dynamic to understand. So please summarize this. The H-1B visa was initially intended to help very good entrepreneurs and Indian U.S. innovators. It became scammed by Silicon Valley, the Indian elites, and these fucking scam artists in between. Okay? That's the background. Now, you have to understand that background. Okay? All right. Now, Trump and his family and others and all around him have made a ton of money off this. Now, let's just step back. let me ask Alan, you and Suresh, what did Trump run on? Make America great again, right, Alan? And who were the people that gave all their support to Trump? Because the Democratic Party obviously wasn't helping any of the working people, the average white American worker, right? So the average white American worker thinking Trump's their savior, oh, he's going to make America, he's going to take care of these immigrants, he's going to begin deportations, right? He's going to protect our jobs. Well, Trump was funded by Silicon Valley, who made money off this slave trade. Does that make sense? So now Trump has a major problem because he's talking deportation, and he's got Elon Musk and fucking Vivek the Snake. By the way, aside on Vivek the Snake, that guy should be fucking deported. As I said, here's a guy, I mean, he's been shoved down the throat of American people. 99% of people hear this guy and they want to vomit. How many people want to vomit when they see Vivek the Snake speak? Everyone I know wants to vomit, okay? But it's like a bad song you keep playing over and over and over again, and you inadvertently start humming it. That's Vivek the Snake. Here's a guy, him and his mother made up a fake drug. I'm sorry, bought a useless drug that failed 4 clinical trials and then presented it as this big Alzheimer's drug, took the company public, made billions, and then crashed the stock from $200 to 0.33 cents, something like that. That's Vivek the Snake. That is a model Indian. And you know, and he is talking about, okay, Alan, you need to mute yourself, okay? A lot of background noise. Thanks. So Vivek the Snake is a guy that made money from scamming people, and yet he's talking about meritocracy. Elon Musk is talking about meritocracy. Everything he does is scamming. His first company was an utter failure. The code sucked. His father had to fund the company. He had to sell it to Peter Thiel. And Elon Musk, everyone must understand, is an actor. He hasn't built anything. All of his business are subsidized businesses from the American public. We also need to understand during the pandemic, Elon Musk and 600 billionaires made $2.3 trillion. And this comes down to the fundamental issue. And this is what everyone really should be listening to. They want the white American worker to go attack these Pajits, okay, as they call the Indian house niggas or the slaves, okay? And they don't want us to really look at the real plantation owners. The real plantation owners are for the last 70 years, and please, go do your own research. Go read the Rand report from 1970 till today, the last 54 years. Wages have been going down for the first and second income quartiles, which is the American working class. Black, white, brown, all of them. In fact, each year, the wages have been going down for the first and second income quartiles. If you add up all those wages for the last 54 years, it comes down to $47 trillion. A beautiful analysis was done by the Rand Association or the Rand Corporation. That $47 trillion was unpaid wages to the American worker. As cost of living went up, the American workers' wages didn't go up. So if you are making $50,000 today, you should actually be making 120 grand. And all of this $47 trillion was given to the elites. So the elites in Silicon Valley, the elites in Boston, all these fucking people everywhere have been stealing from the American worker for the last 54 years. Why? Because they busted all the unions. All the existing unions all suck. There's no one fighting for the American worker. For the last 54 years, there have been at most 900 strikes by 2 million people. During 1900 to 1970, there were 250 million people in the United States fighting in 11,000 strikes. That's when the American working class was strong. When they fought, we win. This is why our movement for Truth, Freedom, Health, and everyone should go to truthfreedomhealth.com, is the only force right now fighting for the American worker. And who's leading it? Me and the American working class, okay? Bottoms up people. And they'll go to great extents to silence our movement. That's why, we try to do Twitter space, suddenly it ends. And this is fucking Elon Musk and Vivek the Snake. 2 scumbags, both of them who should be deported. But the reality is this, the American worker, when they fight, they win. 1900 to 1970, 250 million strikes. As the GDP grew, everyone's wages grew. Let me repeat that. 250 million people and 11,000 strikes. When American people took mass action to protect their jobs, they won. But the Democrats and Republicans starting the 1970s colluded to crush the real bottoms-up movement. We have fake unions in the United States. So between 1970 till today, there has been only 900 strikes by 2 million workers. Think about that. We don't have an American working class fighting for their rights because people like fucking Trump have sold them out. So what's really going on when you put all this together, ladies and gentlemen, is that the plantation, the American plantation of Silicon Valley has destroyed the American working class. And that plantation is the one that's behind Trump and Biden and Obama and all these people. And the bottom line is they don't want a bottoms-up workers movement coming. So what they have done in the last 72 hours is create a fictitious fight between who? The white working class and the brown guys. It's always brown, white, black workers all fighting and women. This is exactly what the white colonists did in the 1800s. They had the black slaves fighting with the white settlers fighting with the Native Americans. And when the Irish came here, the white settlers would call them all sorts of racist names. That's called nativism. This is the oldest fucking play in the book. Okay? This is the oldest fucking game in the book. So you have a bunch of brown slaves who are spineless, who don't know how to fight. And we should talk about that. And Alan, I think you wanted me to discuss this, right? About the Brahmins. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I think this is so important because he talked about how Elon and Vivek, they want to bring over a sort of specific crop. And you mentioned the word Brahmins. Most Americans don't know this. They know India has a caste system, but they don't know the depths of what a Brahmin is and what that means for these people who are coming over. And these people who run all these companies, all these CEOs are apparently all Brahmins too. Right. So
yeah, I think everyone listening, you're going to get a deep analysis of the caste system and Brahmanism in the next 15 minutes. And you will never get this analysis anywhere else except right here at truthfreedomhealth.com. And all of you listening, it's not an ad, but if you're serious, go to truthfreedomhealth.com and support and be a part of this global movement, which exists to shatter the swarm. Go to shattertheswarm.com and watch that video, 15 minutes, and you will understand how the few control the many. But listen, I come from, Alan, you know this, I come from the lower caste in India. You won't find a lot of guys like me here, guys. That's why I use the word Indian nigga, because I've been called a nigga by the Brahmins, okay? Let me give you the reality. When I was growing up in India as a child, I went to a Brahmin's house because I didn't know as a 4-year-old kid, I'm playing, soccer, and I go to this kid's house. And his mother spits on me and says, "You stand out," and gives me water in a different cup, because that's when I learned, Alan, that I was a quote unquote lower caste, quote unquote untouchable, Alan. And I didn't know what the fuck is going on. And that's when I realized India has a caste system. And it's typically the darkies are typically the ones who are the lower caste, and the lighter looking Indians are the upper caste. So that started my journey as a young 4-year-old kid wanting to understand politics. I started reading all sorts of revolutionary politics as a child. And when I came to the United States, when I came to MIT, by the way, I had enough credits to leave MIT in 2 years. I wasn't that impressed by MIT. When I came to MIT, there were various kinds of students at MIT. Well, one block of students at MIT were the Indians who had come from India, so grateful to be in the United States. And these Indians would always try to figure out my last name, Alan. And they were the most fucking racist Indians. They were all Brahmins. And they would try to figure out my last name because they couldn't believe a non-Brahmin ever made it to MIT. So who were my friends at MIT, Alan? Poor whites, black students, and Hispanics. Okay? And after I came to MIT, I really started studying the caste system. And it turns out that the caste system was initially a guild system of people doing certain types of labor, Alan, like if you were a carpenter or someone was a mathematician or a scholar. But over time, that guild system became associated by birth. So if your father was a professor, you got to automatically be a professor. If you were a coconut picker, then you were forced to be a coconut picker. That became the caste system. That was pre-8th century India. By the 9th, 10th century, people said, wait a minute, this is fucked up. Religious, spiritual leaders said, wait a minute, if there's equality in heaven, why isn't there equality on earth? And that started what was called the Bhakti movement in India. And that resulted, by the 15th century, people rising up, bottoms up, saying this caste system sucks. And the caste system was breaking down in India, Alan, by the 15th, 16th century. The Brahmins were the elites, the people who didn't do any work, like the Jewish Zionists in the United States, right? Everyone else had to do the shit work, but they wouldn't do any laboring work because they were above that. And they created a philosophy saying that, oh, the reason you have to clean toilets is because in your last life, you must have kicked a dog or something, okay? Wackadoodle fucking karmatic shit branded into what they called Hinduism. So the Brahmins got to be on top and everyone else had to do shit work. The lowest caste had to do the shittiest work. So my family was supposed to pick coconuts the rest of our lives, Alan, period. And that's in the government documents, okay? So the caste system starts breaking down in the 15th, 16th century. The British come to India, if you remember, Vasco da Gama, and then the Portuguese, and then they start raping India. And in India, what you start seeing is the caste system was breaking down, but the British said, wait a minute, this is an amazing construct to keep people in line. So they went and got the Brahmin priests who were draconian Brahmins, believing still in pre-8th century Indian Brahmanism, got them together and didn't impose British law in India, but they imposed pre-8th century draconian Indian law. You follow what I'm saying, Alan? So yeah. After the Battle of Plassey in 1757, where Britain took over India, they promulgated absolute Brahmanism all over India. Okay? You got it? Yeah. And what ended up happening was they brought in back the caste system. And 99% of Indians are fucking dumb fucks. They don't even know this. Okay? So as British colonialism raped India, pillaged India, I mean, there were truckloads of gold going out of India. India had one of the most amazing textile industries. One day, the British cut the thumbs off British Indian textile workers. So they wouldn't produce Indian textiles, and they did textile manufacturing in Manchester. The level of rape and abuse that went on to India was quite extraordinary, Alan. And this was perpetrated not by the British alone, but by the Brahmins. They had the Brahmins running all the governments in local India, the Nawabs, you see? They used the brown men to oppress the brown people. And who did that? The fucking Brahmins. People like Vivek fucking Ramaswamy. People like Sri Ram Krishnan, who Trump has put in. People like fucking J.D. Vance's wife. People like Kamala Harris and her parents. Those are the people that would spit on my parents, Alan. All fucking Brahmins. Okay?
So I can't help but think that there's sort of an importation of the caste system being brought here to the United States.
You nailed it, Aaron. So what happened in India was that Indians wanted a good fucking revolution, Alan, a good bloody revolution that India should have had, like America had. They wanted to fucking kill all these Brahmins, okay? They wanted to throw out the British, like America. Didn't America do that, Alan? Isn't that why Americans are proud?
It happened, yep.
Americans are proud because they had a great revolution. People died. People lost a son or daughter. Well, India was going to have that revolution in the 1900s. And then they brought this fucking reptile named Gandhi. Okay? Gandhi was a fucking bourgeois who was fighting for the Indian bourgeois in South Africa to get trading rights. He didn't give a fuck about the poor blacks or the poor whites. He was a casteist himself, Alan. He was a fucking Brahmin. Got it? So they bring this fool, Gandhi, to India. He takes over this movement. He's promoted like a Vivek Ramaswamy, like a Martin Luther King. Okay? They get rid of the Malcolm X's. And what was the role of Gandhi? To squash this revolutionary movement and to hand power over to the Nehrus, a Brahmin. The Brahmin of Brahmins is who Jawaharlal Nehru was. And he was banging, just to let you know, Nehru was an Indian who was banging the emperor's wife, Edwina Mountbatten. It's disgusting. So India never had a good bloody revolution. India deserved a good violent revolution. Sorry to say that, India did. So all Indians never had a good revolution. And what ends up happening in India for 70 years, even now, most Indians are fucking spineless because they know in their hearts they never fought for themselves, Alan. And the Brahmins that the Indians set up, the functionaries, ruled over India. In fact, after the British left India, Alan, through that Brahmin infrastructure in India, Britain invested $5 billion more, Alan. A lot of people don't know this. Now, why am I giving you this background? So that was colonialism. India never really had independence. Don't believe Indian Independence Day to all you fucking Indians. It wasn't Indian independence. It's not called the Document of Indian Independence. You know what it's called, Alan?
What? I don't know.
It's called the Transfer of Power. 1947, Alan. It's literally called that, Transfer of Power. Transfer of power from white guys with crowns to a bunch of brown Brahmins in white hats, like Vivek Ramaswamy's. So understand, Alan, India never had people rise up and get a real nationalism. You got what I'm saying? So the slave mentality in India is very deep, very fucking deep, very deep. Now bring it to the modern world. Who is the CEO of Microsoft? Suresh, look him up.
Satya Nadella.
Indian. Who's the CEO of Google?
Sundar Pichai.
Who is the CEO of YouTube? Go down the line. So you think about it. So now you have large Indian outsourcing companies, mainly Indians. You get where I'm saying, Alan? Large H-1B companies embedded in Microsoft. Microsoft's in Delhi here, run by Indian who? Brahmins, neo-colonialists. You get what I'm saying?
I do. It seems to me like the CEOs of these companies are slave merchants who've been bred for their slave merchant role.
Right. Everyone look up. I'm asking here, CEO of IBM, Indian. You go down. It's a bunch of fucking Indian brown-nosed, bullshitting Brahmin brown-nosers who are managing other Indian slaves. This is why I called it Indian niggas. Get it clear. If you're an Indian in the United States, unless you came from my fucking background, you're likely a fucking house slave, and own up to it. Indian house niggas is who we have, Alan. And they will not fight ever bottoms up. And now they got the white house slaves, which is the American MAGA-tards, which is Trump has brought in. Trump has made the American workers house slaves to suck his Zionist cock. And those house slaves, under the fucking Laura Loomer, a Zionist cocksucker, Nick Fuentes, a fucking whatever the fuck he is, they are fighting against, you see, like they're apparently a civil war in MAGA. No, it's a bunch of slaves fighting amongst each other for crumbs. This
it's like the white silly dummies versus the brown silly dummies.
Exactly. Well, the brown spineless silly dummies versus a bunch of MAGA-tards who think they have something, but they have nothing. And what has actually gone on? If you look at the last 54 years, $47 trillion has been transferred to people like Elon Musk. Elon Musk made all of his fucking money during the pandemic, motherfucker. $2.3 trillion was transferred to 600 billionaires. If Elon Musk wants to help the economy, give back your fucking money. Give back all the government subsidies you got. Because you haven't invented anything. Starlink is a government exercise to surveil Americans. Tesla is a walking fucking surveillance device, making money from carbon tax credits. Twitter is a government experiment to watch our thoughts and to understand where we're going. All of these under the aegis of a fucking moron called Elon Musk, who's a fucking addict, a drug addict. And Vivek the Snake, a fucking scam artist. These people have no right to talk about workers and their future. I do. You do, Alan. Everyone in the movement for Truth, Freedom, Health works for a living. And if you don't work, you don't get to be in our movement. You have to work, or you have to be retired, or you have to be a mother or father. That's the criteria for Truth, Freedom, Health. We are the only force on the planet exposing the reality, doing this kind of systems analysis. So when you bring it all together, Alan, to answer your question, you got a bunch of fucking Brahmins running the technocratic society, paying homage to Silicon Valley. Just type in Sri Ram Krishnan, who Trump just assigned as his AI. I mean, this guy looks like a fucking, what does he look like, Alan? A DNA fucking mutation of a serpent mixed with some dog, mixed with some Frankenstein, doesn't he?
He looks like a deformed AI cartoon.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is that guy?
Right. And Musk, the guy can barely talk. And you listen to fucking Vivek Ramaswamy, you're talking to a fucking car salesman. Everyone knows this, but these people are shoved down our throats. So the reality with the H-1B, and we'll open up to questions shortly, has nothing to do with the H-1B. It's a fucking slave trade. Trump has made billions off of it. Elon Musk has made billions off of it. Silicon Valley's thrived off it. All the people supported Trump. So Trump he's P.T. Barnum. He's got to create this fake civil war to act like, oh, wow, we have to get rid of the H-1B, like as though he cares for the American workers. He doesn't. He doesn't. Wages of the American workers have been coming down since 1970. $47 trillion has been transferred to the elites. These are the facts. And you're going to blame some dumbass idiot who got on a fucking, airplane, and the broker made 75% of the money. And he's sitting here in his little hovel, happy to have his little Toyota car, sending pictures on Facebook back home to his parents in his village. Oh, I got a job. That fucking guy's your enemy? No. The real fucking enemy is Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Obama, and all the swarm that they represent. Booby fucking Kennedy. All these people should be deported out of the United States. They do not serve this country. The only force right now opposing all of this is a movement for truth, freedom, health. When I ran for president, we built an enormous set of leaders in this country. So if you're for fucking real and you want to talk about real stuff, go to Truth, Freedom, Health. Go watch Shatter the Swarm. But if you want to get involved in nonsense, the black man fighting the brown man, fighting the white man, fighting Pajit, fighting fucking Magatard, go do that. You're being fucking taken for a ride. You're just dumb. You're fucking dumb if you get lost in this shit. Yes, it's a Zionist-occupied government, and they have us fighting among each other. Just like the Mossad guy said on 60 Minutes, it is a play. We're all actors. And they're telling you to your face. So,
yeah.
Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, man, I think you brought up a really good point earlier. Like with that Mossad thing, it's not about what they're showing us. It's the why. And I think the why they did that is to teach people learned helplessness. What do you think about that?
Definitely. And there are people on this call who suck up to Booby fucking Kennedy, and one of them just joined us. And there are a lot of people making money off sucking up to Booby fucking Kennedy, by the way, who's part of this swarm. Booby fucking Kennedy promoted lockdowns in March of 2020. And I see someone right here who came here and makes money promoting him. They do not tell the truth. Booby fucking Kennedy is part of the swarm. He forced people to get vaccines who came to his home. Okay? He's going to do safe vaccines. Really? How's he going to do that? So you got to understand that the level of deception is very, very deep in this country. It's deception upon deception. And all of these people are actors. And they know the work that we did in 2020. They know we are the ones who fought election fraud. We are the ones who exposed Fauci. Booby fucking Kennedy, as you know, remember, Alan, he stole all my shit and wrote the book. Motherfucker. So the deception is deep. And we're going to call out all those people who still suck Booby Kennedy's cock. Because he's a Zionist motherfucking cocksucker who said the Palestinians are the most pampered people on the planet. And if you support him and you can say, well, he said that, but he says good things. Well, you're a fucking cocksucker yourself. And you know who you are. Some of you, I can see you on this space. So fuck off.
What is the play with Booby Kennedy? Do you think they're going to try to basically use him to rebrand Big Pharma? And like, what's the play with him?
Well, let's look at Booby fucking Kennedy's entire family history. The 1962 Vaccination Act was created by who? Kennedy. And that created the CDC on all the infrastructure. And then the quote unquote vaccine injuries took place. Then his other fucking uncle who murdered a woman right here, Teddy Kennedy, is the one who created the 1986 vaccine injury program on the Senate side. He was a sponsor of the bill, which got shoved into a rider on something else. And that's the one who indemnified all the big pharma companies. This fool, Booby Kennedy, a drug addict who plagiarized nearly everything going through college, okay? He then suddenly gets involved in water keepers. And I know this guy, okay? Booby Kennedy then starts saying, we need safe vaccines. Go look at his video that one of his very close former employees gave to us. He says, I believe in full vaccination of all Americans. Now, I played that video for his cocksuckers. By the way, there's a lot of people making money hanging around Booby Kennedy. Okay? And so Booby fucking Kennedy says, I believe in full vaccination of all Americans. And then he goes on to say, the CDC is so corrupt and they're all fucking corrupt. And he's going to miraculously take this corrupt organization and have them create quote unquote safe vaccines, Alan. Now, when I ran the first immune health conference in 2019, guess who showed up? Aaron Siri, his fucking little Zionist cocksucking lawyer, pulled me aside. He goes, Shiva, you have cytosol. You should create safe vaccines. We could all make a bunch of money. I go, what did you just say, Alan? He goes, oh, you better not let my wife know I said that. So they're striking a deal to massage all of this to say they're going to create safe vaccines, give pharma a facelift, Alan. Meanwhile, talk about all sorts of nonsense. Oh, this toxin, that toxin, we're going to take this out. The real issue with health, if you really want to talk about health, is stress. The number one source of health is stress. Stress destroys the immune system. The lockdowns destroyed the immune system. Booby Kennedy in March of 2020 promoted lockdowns. Promoted fucking lockdowns. Promoted lockdowns. That killed a lot of people. Trump promoted lockdowns. That killed a lot of people. All right? He's not for anything about health. The motherfucker's on TRT therapy. Look at him. Just look at the fucking guy. He openly tells you that personal integrity and public integrity are two different things, Alan. He says that. And he says the Palestinian people are the most pampered people on the planet. He's a fucking Mossad psyop, just like Tulsi Gabbard, just like fucking Trump, all of them. These people are agents. They are created because they know a bottoms-up movement is coming. Real leaders like me are coming from below, and they have to suppress us. It's that simple. And there are people right now on this space who suck his Zionist cock with new age sounding names, okay? And they are promoting him because he's going to create the wellness industrial complex. Not to address the real solution, in West Virginia, a male's lifespan in the United States is 62 years old. In Fairfax, Virginia, where fucker Carlson come from, it's 85. 22 years difference. Why? Income inequality. Let's talk about the real fucking thing that affects health. Not eating your fucking green tea. Yeah, we all want to eat well. We all want to eat organic food, but it's stress. Income inequality creates infinite amount of stress on the body. Talk to a mother who's trying to work hard. They can't afford fucking vitamins. Don't talk to me about fucking hyperbaric chambers, Booby fucking Kennedy, and fucking Mercola, you motherfuckers. And by the way, when I exposed Kennedy, Kennedy called me a vaccine maker, that I work for the Clintons. He's a fucking piece of shit. A psyop. And so what they did, Alan, they brought that motherfucker in to quiet people down, make America hopeless again, right? That's what Maha is.
It's like American heroin again or something.
Exactly. And anyone supporting Booby fucking Kennedy, knowing he promoted lockdowns, is a fucking Mossad agent themselves. Period. I don't want to hear any fucking excuses, because if you are telling me that listen to the words, not the deeds, then you don't have a fucking brain. You don't do critical thinking. You're dumb, or you're a Mossad agent. It's one or the other. It's that simple. So anyway, getting back to this H-1B thing, this has nothing to do with H-1B. This is about pitting different segments of the working class against each other. It's the age-old game. In factory floors, you paid women half the wages of a man. So the men thought they were better than women. You paid the blacks 1/3 of that of the white guys. So you had them fighting. You played the Irish 1/2. So you always get all the working people fighting against each other. Meanwhile, they're robbing the all working people dry. The amount of wealth concentration that is taking place on the planet is infinite. And you know what? AI is coming around the corner. They want dumb people. They don't want people in the workforce. That's where this is all headed. They want to create an Elysium for themselves. So this boondoggle of, oh yeah, Elon Musk and fucking Vivek the Snake on one side and Laura Loomer and others on Jack Posobiec, a fucking idiot, two fucking idiots, two sets of idiots fighting each other, and we're supposed to be entertained by this. Well, guess what? Our movement exists. We're giving the systems analysis of this. This has nothing to do with them. This is about working people uniting and to shatter the swarm. We're heading into a period over the next 4 years where they're going to accelerate AI at levels no one even knows. I do know because I've participated in the creation of a lot of these technologies. I own the 3 earliest patents on text-based AI that just, by the way, ended about 2 years ago. So all these technologies around been through the 60s and 70s. In the last, 5-10 years, they've accelerated this by condensing the chip, increasing cooling systems, and building massive data centers. Most jobs are going to be taken out, okay? They don't need Indian slaves. They don't need Magatard slaves. They don't need anybody. They're looking at depopulating people and how much they can have for themselves. And the working people of this country and the world better unite. That's where it's really at. And if you're supporting Booby fucking Kennedy and you think fucking Tulsi Gabbard is anti-war and you're promoting that and you're into some new age shit and you're talking about God or Christianity, you're full of shit. Well, that's my analysis. That's my systems analysis. That's the reality. You've learned about the H-1B in summary. You've learned about what is Brahmanism. And by the way, there is a reason that all the Hindu Indian Brahmins and the Jewish Zionist cocksuckers get along so well. They're the same ilk. They all supported the bombing of Gaza and Palestine because they believe the 0.0001% are better than all of us. That's what this is all about. It's about, look, the Brahmins and the Zionists don't do manual labor, Alan. Suresh, you want to let people know that? Do the Brahmins do any manual labor in India?
No.
Nope. Zionists don't do manual labor. We're all goyams to them. We're all lower caste untouchables. That's the reality. And replacing us with machines is the goal. So you've made young people really dumb. A lot of young people are living in their parents' home using ADHD, autism, all sorts of excuses why they shouldn't work. They're taking huge sections of the workforce out of working because they don't want you to work. They're going to replace you. That's what this is really about. All of this entertainment stuff of Loomer and Fuentes and fucking retards like Vivek the Snake, it's all entertainment. It's all bullshit.
These people don't work for a living, but Laura Loomer, Nick Fuentes, I don't think they ever held a job. And this is the age-old tactic that you mentioned, pitting working people against each other. Now, all these people are at the throats of each other. And this is the same tactic the employers use, political leaders, people like Musk who don't work. This is basically to maintain control and then prevent collective bargaining, weaken the labor movement, and then suppress demands for better working conditions and wages. That's why, thanks for emphasizing the importance of needing solidarity among workers to achieve common goals. Just by being angry at H-1B workers, the wage growth is not suddenly going to increase. The policies that these lawmakers are passing, that's to basically prioritize corporate profits, shareholder value. Like each quarter, they're showing billions of dollars of revenue while the worker is getting nothing.
The American worker is being fucked by Trump by being essentially subdued into a Valium that they've taken. The workers who supported the Democratic Party have just checked out. And by design, the Democratic Party talked about wackadoodle shit to completely destroy the working class movement, to make it completely demoralized. So that was a job of the Democratic Party. And then they created this fucking retard called Trump who talked a big fucking game. And his job is to suck Zionist cock all day. And meanwhile, AI is coming, which is going to replace everything. And they're accelerating that. They just built a server farm of 100,000 GPUs in 20 days. This is where it's going. And people have no idea. that these technologies have existed for a long time. With the amount of computing power, it's going to accelerate. If you're an electrician, your job's at risk. If you're a nurse, your job's at risk. Lawyers are gone, okay? So what's going to really remain? Who is going to control these machines? And I would argue all of these are our assets. And if we must build a bottoms-up movement to seize these technologies, that's where it really needs to go. But it's not going to get there without building a bottoms-up consciousness. There's so many fucking grifters on the internet who talk a big game, have no intention of building anything except getting views and clicks. That's all they care about.
Dr. Shiva, would you say 99% of the internet is just a big griftosphere at this point?
Yeah, it's a griftosphere which has no intention of doing anything. Most of our content, we're not going to even do. Sorry, everyone. Most of our content is going to be for people who really want to help build a movement. We will do very little stuff on social media moving forward. We're building a global movement to shatter the swarm. And that's what motivates me, and that's what motivates people in our movement. The level of abuse of the American working class, the world working class, is reaching proportions that's quite insane. And in order to execute this, they must make people dumb, Alan, and then they must have a bunch of fucking grifters. That's it. And that's what Musk is. Musk itself is the ultimate grifter.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like people are in a theater seat just watching, being entertained. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's why 60 Minutes is openly telling you. Why is 60 Minutes telling you? Having a Mossad guy on, because they want to create learned helplessness. Our movement, the Movement for Truth, Freedom, Health, is the only force which is tangibly educating people on system science, how to build this bottoms-up movement. Most of these other people who copy my content are Mossad agents to divert people. Fucker Carlson, one of the biggest fucking Mossad agents. All of them. So if you're listening to this and you want, either you fall into three groups: people who are spies for Booby fucking Kennedy, and I see some of you here, people who are grifters, or people who are sincere people. And if you're sincere and you made it this far, go look at the deeds that I've done that match the words and those people in our movement. And go compare that to the deeds and words of these other fucking motherfuckers. They don't match. And if you're willing to, excuse them, please excuse yourself out of my fucking face. The working people of the world have been misled for a long time, and they have a short window to get their shit together, and that's what our movement's focused about. So go to truthfreedomhealth.com. Go watch Shatter the Swarm. Go watch the coursework we put together, all free, called Get Off the Plantation. If you want to fight, if you want to be a dumb motherfucker and be a fucking house nigger, go for that. Most Indians who come to the United States have been made to be house niggas. That's who they are. And most MAGA-tards are now, as you said, Alan, White House niggas, right?
Yeah. And, I personally am taking the course right now. I would say this, man. It is the best source of information on the internet. And when you do take the course, you're going to understand the game. You're going to understand the entire game. If I could put it in one sentence, that would be it.
Yeah. So when I saw some idiot said, "Oh my God, Mossad is now revealing that they are in fact doing acting, they're controlling the screenplays," the question you have to ask is, the real question you need to start asking is, why is this news? Why is mainstream media putting out that news? That's the critical thinking you need to achieve now. Why is whatever her name, one of the Zionist reporters, talking to a Mossad agent, telling you in your face, "Yeah, we have actors. It's all a big theater," because they want to make you feel demoralized and helpless. That's why they're doing that. Why is this sudden H-1B thing coming? Don't get lost in their fucking diktats. Why are they promoting this? Not to help the American worker. No. To distract from the fact that all the Silicon Valley guys have made billions and trillions of dollars by supporting outsourcing, by supporting Trump, by sucking Zionist cock. Yep. That's what this is about. Don't be a fucking dumb fuck. And again, if you support Vivek the Snake or Booby fucking Kennedy or making excuses for them, you need to have your fucking head checked. Let's take some requests, Alan. And here's the ground rules. We're going to have a timer here. and either you can ask a question about the topic at hand, or you will be cut off. We want to have a discussion about the topic at hand. So let's start with someone called Love, and you're added as a speaker. Love, go ahead. So question, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Shiva?
I'm good.
Yeah, well, I think I'm okay. But I've been following you for the last 10 years, and I find your words and your passion really amazing. One of the questions I have for you is, rather than looking at this H1 thing as a negative, why can't we look at it as a positive? Because the fact is that these guys in America need to, that they are behind 10 years or 20 years. And so if we can get the infill of education and good technicalities, we might be able to get America beyond, I don't know, even 20 to 40 years ahead. So what's your point on that?
I'm a little bit, let me just ask you a question. I'm a little bit, maybe Suresh and Alan, you can sort of unpack what she just said. Are you saying that people coming on the H-1Bs will help America, or the discourse will help America? I'm not sure what you're saying.
Physically, no, I'm actually talking about the physicality, because there are so many Americans that don't want to do the jobs. So like the OAPs, like we have a really big OAP.
So you're saying the fact that Americans don't want to do these jobs and these immigrants are coming in may help America. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And how do you think, when you say America, which America are you talking about? The working class of America or the bourgeois of America?
All of them. No, the lower class. Lower class
Uh-huh.
are going to help the lowest to get to the higher one.
How is it going? So, and how do you think it's going to help them?
For the factor that not many Americans know how to work. Like they don't know how to do a 9 to 5. Actually, they don't even know how to read a book.
Okay. So I get. Let me give you my position on this. Okay. So when you look at the big meta picture of what's going on right now, the goal is to eliminate working people. Do you understand what I'm saying? The goal is to eliminate as many workers as possible globally. So there are a number of ways that they're doing this. One is to take young people in the United States, 20 to 40-year-olds, and you will see this. Many of you, if you're listening, if you have a son or a daughter, many people are coddling their kids. They actually cannot do a lot of work anymore, okay? They're incapable. They've created, well, I'll tell you why. For the last 50, 60 years, they've created a culture of telling parents, oh, your poor Johnny is so smart. He's got ADHD. He can't focus. He doesn't need to do that work. Please take care of him, okay? Oh, putting people on disability, putting people on welfare, and giving people excuses why. So they've created a huge segment of the American workforce which doesn't work anymore. Meanwhile, and that's the job, getting people out of the workforce. The second job is to bring immigrants in, like the outsourcing immigrants or immigrants from Mexico, under fear. Oh my God, I made it across the border. I'm going to do some menial job. I'll do it for anything. Same with these Indian indentured servants. But most of the jobs that they do, majority of them, are very mechanistic, robotic jobs. You follow? That will also be replaced by robots and machinery. And then
So can I give you
let me finish. Let me finish.
Question.
Let me finish.
Question.
No, let me finish. Let me finish. Hold on. Let me finish.
You need radiologists, right? In hospitals.
Can you hold on? Let Dr. Shiva finish.
Yes. Okay. My point is that you should probably go listen to the video I did at the town hall yesterday, because I don't want to waste a lot of time here on this. But the fundamental thing is there is a momentum that's going to be a bloody fucking tsunami that's appearing. And very few people have the idea of what I'm talking about. It's like in 1993, when one of my customers was JCPenney, 1993. And I said, you guys should get on the internet. You have the catalog business. You have this. Oh, we don't need to be on the internet. We're making so much money here. And we don't need an email address. People have no idea what is going to happen with AI and robotics, how many jobs it's going to replace. So the goal is to make sure the working people are fighting among each other while all their jobs are wiped out. That's what's fundamentally going on, okay? So let's go on to the next question. And you have to understand that's fundamentally what's going on. Let's go to the next question. Jeanette? Go ahead. Go ahead, Suresh.
Yeah. Can you keep your questions precise and succinct, to the point? Don't be long-winded. Don't make us guess what you're trying to say. Just keep it clear, please. Thanks. Who's Jeanette?
Jeanette, go ahead. Jeanette, you're the speaker. You have to unmute yourself, and then we'll go to Herc Singh, and then Miles, and then Zionist Rep. Go ahead, Jeanette. Hi, Jeanette. Go ahead. What's your question?
Sorry, can you hear me? I just wanted to say that you have the bottoms up theory. I just wanted to say thank you so much, because you told me so much since 2020. I've been listening to you for that long. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Jeanette. To everyone listening,
Regardless, you've done amazing.
Jeanette, thank you. Look, to everyone listening out there, this is not some grift.
My eyes.
Thanks, Jeanette. To everyone listening, this is not some views and clicks for us. We got a ton of views and clicks in 2020 and 2019 and beyond because we fought. And since then, the level of censoring has been quite abusive. But regardless of that, our movement is on the ground. And this is not some grift for any of us in our movement. We want to build a bottoms-up global movement to shatter the swarm. It's the only future. If you look at the work that was done by the Club of Rome, if you look at the picture that was done by the Club of Rome, let me just remain in this. Yeah. If you look at the work that was done by the Club of Rome, what it showed was that, and this was done in 1970, 2025 is when the death rate is going to explosively grow. You can go look it up. Just go type it in. Jay Forrester, one of the biggest system dynamics theorists in the world, did that work. And it is no coincidence that Trump is put in place. Elections are selections. Trump was selected in 2016 by the Zionists. Biden was selected in 2020. Trump was reselected by the Zionists in 2024. And his job is to be Elon Trump, the merger of state and big tech, state capitalism, fascism. That's where we're headed. The only force against that is a bottoms-up movement, which is being led by us. So we do these spaces to educate people. So if you want to fight and you want to do something, if you want to be a critical thinker, get involved in Truth, Freedom, and Health. Every Thursdays, it's a long day for me. It's really almost a 22-hour day. We do a open house. You can get to meet other people. But if you're listening and you're taking and you're tweeting and you're not helping build a movement, I can't really take you seriously. Because I think, most people who know we exist and don't want to help build a movement, you're like a fucking grifter. But thanks, Jeanette. Let's go over to Herc Singh. Go ahead, Herc. Herc, go ahead. Again, Suresh and Alan, you have rights to, mute people, if they don't follow the rules. Go ahead.
Yep. Hey, Dr. Ayyadurai. I was working earlier this year trying to get free and equal elections to get you on stage.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
They refused to answer a Twitter space that I called them out on. And both the woman and the organization follow me, but still won't answer my DMs regarding you, why you were excluded. So I've decided to call them out in January on Spaces again and call out Jill Stein and Chase Oliver for being cowards and not being able to debate
on Twitter Spaces. So I was wondering if you could expand on why you called Jill Stein a Zionist, because she's the first one I'm going after in January.
Jill Stein's a fucking liberal Zionist, the most evil Zionist that you can get. Let's really break up. First of all, Herc, thanks for following the directions. Look, the bottom line is that free and fair elections is a not so obvious establishment. Chase Oliver, we destroyed him in Massachusetts. We got more votes than him with less than $125,000. We got on nearly 45 states ballots, either as a write-in or listed. In 14 states, we got in as a listed candidate. Think about that. 125 grand. Booby fucking Kennedy pocketed $20 million. We have a serious fucking movement, guys. We did that with hard working people. And I have to ask you, where the fuck were you guys? Why didn't you guys help us get on the ballot? We needed signatures. We were out there in sweat and blood collecting signatures. We have built a real movement. No one has any excuse. Now, free and fair elections was supposedly this third party stuff. We got on ballots. I was polling better than even Chase fucking Oliver. And they were supposed to put us on that fucking stage. But the Zionist hoodlums and the establishment will never put a real bottoms-up person like me with a real movement on the stage. They fear us. They're scared shitless about us. So why didn't they do that? The executive director of that, Herc, do you know I called her up? She was like, oh my God. She goes, I'm shaking. I'm talking to you. Blah. She goes, I love you. You did so much. I go, your leadership is not putting us on. She goes, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, you should be on the debate stage. She goes, I can't. The executive director, Herc, so they get good people and they put them in positions to be their front people who are good, sincere people. Now, Jill Stein is as Zionist as you can get. Why do I say she's Zionist? What is anti-Zionist? Look, I've been involved in the anti-Zionist movement since I was 18 years old. Some of you may know, I don't know how old you are, some of you may know a guy called Meir Kahane. This guy wanted actually to butcher all the Palestinians. In 1984, 1986, Ariel Sharon took tanks and he rode over Sabra and Shatila, two camps of Palestinians in Lebanon, drove over them. It was fucking crazy. I organized one of the biggest protests at Brandeis University, which is an all-Jewish Zionist school, where they had invited Meir Kahane, who's a crazy rabbi. Take that guy Shmuley and put him on steroids, Herc. Okay, so we chased him out of town. Now, you have to understand, the so-called anti-Zionist movement has been infiltrated by Zionists who have raised up a slogan, Herc. You know what their slogan is? Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. You heard that slogan, Herc? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, that slogan has been around since 1984, and it is run by the liberal Zionists. What the fuck does ceasefire now mean? It means ceasefire now. But then you can go on to killing more Palestinians. That's what it really means. Ceasefire now. So that movement has allowed Israel to go 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. My slogan and our slogan was end the occupation of the United States. That's true anti-Zionism. Jill Stein doesn't want to do that. She's a fucking Zionist. She's as Zionist as you can get, because she pushes ceasefire now, does her little shtick, gets a little bit arrested. But she does not want to end the Zionist occupation of the United States of America. That is how you end the destruction of the Palestinian people. I'm the only one to talk about that, because that goes down to where the slogan matches the theory. The theory is we need to liberate human beings across the globe. Well, Zionism is a racist fucking philosophy. She still says, well, I believe Israel has a right to exist. My parents were from my grandparents. She has all these nostalgia about fucking Israel. Fuck Israel. Israel does not have the right to exist. It's a fucking outlaw state. And if you talk to true Jews or anti-Zionists, they're very clear. When it comes to Zionism, there's no fucking pussyfooting around. She's a liberal Zionist, Herc. That's what she fucking is. And furthermore, Herc, she supports carbon tax. The fucking bitch supports carbon tax. What is carbon tax? Carbon tax is another way of enslaving people. It's based on a scam. She knows what the fuck she's doing. Do you hear about her anywhere after the election? They bring her and Cornel West in, and then they disappear. Poof. The establishment brings them in to be their fake opposition. She's the new opposition. She's the new elite Democrat opposition. She's made. She didn't even get on the ballot in Iowa, Herc, which is the centerpiece. We got on the ballot in the snow. We went to 17 districts. That's how many different things we had to get. Fucking Jill Stein did not get on the ballot in Iowa. We did. And all of you listening here, you better fucking support our movement if you're serious. And I'm going to be running for president again. And we've already started our campaign, but ours is a movement. We know all these elections are selections, but we need to build a bottoms-up movement. And you have the opportunity to do that. If you have a voice and you're tweeting our, and many of you are stealing our stuff who are grifting out there, and you're doing it. And you're probably listening to the content to see, taking notes on what you can grift off. I say, fuck you. But if you really are real, you should help build this movement. You should let go of your fucking ego, because I've spent my entire fucking life figuring out how to shatter the swarm. It has been my life project. And we have a global movement now of amazingly dedicated working people, mothers who work, working people, retired people. We tell people, if you don't have a job, we have to let you go. Go get a job. You cannot be in our movement if you don't work. Because if you don't work and you don't have to get up in the morning and you don't have to ends meet, you don't really know the life of living as a working person. This is a movement of the working people for the working people. So Herc, Jill Stein is a complete Zionist scumbag. Carbon tax? Are you fucking serious? That's what she supports. Booby Kennedy, by the way, supported lockdown, saying, oh, it's going to help save the environment and stop the spread of COVID in March of 2020 when it mattered. And by the way, Jay Bhattacharya, that fucking creep, wrote a paper supporting lockdowns in the middle of COVID. Let's go to the next one. Thanks, Herc. Go after them. Go after these guys. Go after the not so obvious establishment. It's your job.
Dr. Ayudaray, if
Yep.
I could get Chase Oliver or Jill Stein to agree to debate you on my space, would you be comfortable with that?
Yeah. Let's fucking do it. They won't do it. They're scumbags. They won't do it. Uncensored, live, Herc, not pre-taped. You got it? Okay. Let's go to Miles Day. Go ahead, Miles Day. Miles Day. And Alan, how are we doing? Should we go for another? It's 2200. Alan, you and Suresh, you guys, another 20 minutes, 18 minutes. We end at 2300, Alan?
Yeah, that works for me, man. In regards to a lot of these media people, a golden rule that I personally use is like, if they ignore Dr. Shiva, they're not legit, and that's the strategy they use. And he's a very good bellwether for who is legit and who is not. So,
and they cannot have him on because Dr. Shiva is going to expose their grift. They become irrelevant. Dr. Shiva is talking about solutions. These guys who don't want to put him on want the problems to continue, so they can grift off. So that's why I would not waste time with these people. Or I would ask you to go to shattertheswarm.com, watch the video, understand the dynamics, and be part of the movement. Organize the people in your community. It's a complete waste of time dealing with these people.
Yeah, and I think Suresh nailed it. We're building a bottoms-up movement. People who don't get it, who don't go, I mean, you have to go study the course, guys. It's like studying aeronautical engineering. You have to study it. You're not going to build a movement. I mean, it's taken me 50 years to uncover the actual physics, the science, the dynamics. If you don't do it, you're not serious. Because when you say, I mean, Herc, if you want to do that, I'm telling you, it's still a distraction. It's like you're getting involved in some entertainment. This weekend, I'll be going down to the train station, handing out, thousands of cards. That's what I'm going to do. That's what we do. We go direct to people. You can't win on their battleground. They're all scumbags. Let's go to Miles Day. Go ahead, Miles.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm not sure if you remember, but we had you on our space somewhere in March, April. It was great space. We spoke a lot about Zog. So, Doctor, I don't want to take too much of your time. I wanted to quickly get your opinion on the relation of that, Elon Musk and Zog and what's happening here, because, we've seen one of his live videos many months ago when he was down in El Paso, Texas, covering the illegal, immigrants, crossing to America from Texas, right? And now he's all, supportive of, immigrants, etc. So if you could just like maybe shed some light on his relation with Zog and also Tucker Carlson as well. And, just also wanted to give a big shout out to my G-Noticer crew, like Mr. Anderson, for calling out Elon Musk's hypocrisy. Thank you, Doctor.
Well, look, again, Miles, I don't, if we've spoken before, again, I encourage you to go to Truth from Health, become a warrior scholar, and get involved. We've created a systematic program for people who actually want to change things versus just talk about it. It's pretty, we've been talking about this for a long time. I was the one who exposed the backdoor portal into Twitter in the historic lawsuit, which Tucker Carlson buried. Then Elon Musk tries to take credit for it. It was my work which exposed the fact that the government and social media companies are one. It's all written there. Go to winbackfreedom.com, okay? Now, Elon Musk, his entire life has been created for him. He's not an inventor. He's never invented fucking anything. So he is promoted by the Zionist industrial complex. He is created by them to lead to a Zionist technocratic state where we're going to enter into state capitalism. That's why it almost comes out naturally, Elon Trump. Why do I say that? In China, you have the Communist Party of China, and the heads of all the companies have united. That's called state capitalism. Russia never had quote unquote communism. It's state capitalism. The United States now has a sophisticated form of state capitalism. That's what we have right now. Elon Trump. I mean, think about it. I mean, the motherfucking guy is running 3 companies, supposedly, okay? SpaceX is a government entity. It's all funded by the military. They just got a $2 billion contract from the Pentagon with their mesh networks on Starlink connected to T-Mobile. You basically going to lose all your civil rights, because if the government infrastructure is used to suppress you, you have First Amendment rights. But all of that has been outsourced to private companies. Twitter, as I showed definitively in my lawsuit, because before the lawsuit became a limited hangout by Bhattacharya, Kennedy, and this doofus Musk, exposed in bare view that government and social media companies are one. Elon fucking Trump is a symbol of that. He goes from quote unquote his companies, which are not his companies. SpaceX was subsidized by the government up to $7 billion. Now they get another $2 billion in government contracts. Tesla, the only reason they're profitable is because they got $2 billion in government tax credits, carbon tax credits. And with Section 230 immunity, that's the reason that Twitter gets this high valuation over a publishing company like the New York Times. So all of this is at government largesse. And you have 2 fucking scumbags, Musk and Vivek the Snake, who are total Zionist cocksuckers. I mean, how much more? I mean, you just have to do a little bit of Googling to see this. They would not exist if they were not Zionist cocksuckers.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. And all the best.
Yeah, well, Miles, get involved. If you understand where we're coming from, get off your butt, get involved, hand out cards, help build this movement. It's not enough to talk. Let's go over to Aaron B. Harold. Aaron B. Harold. And then we're going to do Zionist Rep and Elliot McGee, and we'll end with that. Okay? Aaron B., can you unmute yourself, Aaron?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, Aaron, how are you?
Living the dream, Mr. Suresh. Mr. Shiva. Well, I'm a friend of hers. He's talked about you quite a bit in some of the spaces I used to do with Poor People's Politics. And I've been calling out these people like Elon. I didn't even know who he was. I just saw what he was, and I said exactly what he was going to do before he got to where he's at. I knew what he was up to. It was snake oil sale. These scam artists are so easy to call out. It's frustrating because it's like, it's easy to see the shit, and you're right about it most of the time, but nobody seems to listen.
No. See, I don't think that's no. One second, Aaron. I don't think that's what's going on. I think if everyone I speak to says, I can't believe this guy, they think he's a scam artist. What I'm saying is you have to understand the level of control they have. You ever, I mean, I gave this analogy earlier. You ever heard a song that really sucked? Like the first time you heard it, and then you know how the music companies play it over and over and over again? And after 50 times you're humming it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. I used to be with a group of people that were very independent-minded, and as soon as RFK came out, and like took all the energy from the independent movement and moved it right into MAGA. Like people I personally know who have been calling out all this stuff for a long time have been right about 99% of it. Just like turned their brain off and was like, "We're gonna go fucking MAGA now," and it drives me nuts. But those are my question. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get on a rant here. My thing is the wealth gap is so huge in the United States here, and these oligarchs have control of so many things. So I know it's kind of a complicated answer, but how do we get back from control from these people?
All right. So do you want to, if I told you the answer, would you actually take action to get involved?
Depends on what the answer is. I'm kind of, you know, I'd like to hear the answer before I make any collective statements about joining any club. Or I'm not a big.
It's not about joining any. It's not about joining any club, because let me explain to you, because and it goes back to the previous observation you made. Okay, so you said I couldn't understand how all these people, my friends who were Kennedy people, got swept into MAGA, and this is the heart of it. So every 2 to 4 years, this is a systems dynamic issue. And I've been watching this since I was a 4-year-old kid, really trying to understand this. And revolutionary thinkers, revolutionary since the time of, you know, when people were being exploited for thousands of years, have tried to figure out, how do you create a society where those who work and those who toil and those who are considerate and humane get to run the world, right? Get to create a better world. This is a fundamental question of human existence. And during this process, human beings have thought that will never be resolved. Oh, Jesus will come. Yeah, okay. Or, oh, when you go to heaven, oh, you know, there's just, will be rich and poor. That's just the way it is. That reality, what I just said, that dynamic is no different than when people said, oh, wow, the birds fly. Humans will never fly. That's for the birds. Okay. Or, wow, the sun sets. We have darkness. We will never have light when there's no sun. And you have to really understand this. You're talking to someone who's really studied this shit at a very deep and profound level to understand the dynamics. Well, we got over the concept of the world being in darkness by a guy called Michael Faraday and Maxwell. One was an experimental scientist who understood electromagnetics, Maxwell's equations. It really should be called Faraday's equation. He did all the fucking work, okay? And we understood how to garner electricity, and we have civilizations now where we have light all the time. And if you don't understand the amount of effort it took to unravel the mysteries of the universe, to overcome an impossibility, you won't appreciate what I'm actually saying. You'll always be on the fence. You'll always be dawdling around, and you'll always be demoralized. You'll never have answers. You'll just be going from this to this to this, to jumping around from political bed to political bed. Then you look at flight. Well, people thought only birds fly until Bernoulli figured out the laws of lift. These were fundamental scientific principles. Well, I've been spending my whole fucking life trying to figure out, how do we shatter the swarm? There must be a science to it. And I uncovered that. I've done many other things, and that comes out of understanding the systems dynamics of how systems work. And that discovery came from me integrating engineering system science with ancient systems of yogic science, which it seems like so fucking disparate. And what I uncovered was fundamental principles, 9 principles, which run everything in the universe. And those principles give us a foundation to understand what is a goal, what is a disturbance, what are inputs, what is transport, conversion, storage. And I'm not going to go through this with you, but with that knowledge, you will not ever get fooled by a Kennedy, and you'll be able to understand why that dynamic took place, and you won't be shocked. I mean, I called out Bernie Sanders 20 years ago. I called out Jesse Jackson and all these people. I had to take the hit calling out Booby fucking Kennedy, because once you understand the science, you will understand this physics. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing one ass or another ass, and you'll be like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Well, I do know what to do. We have to build a bottoms-up movement. And that bottoms-up movement has to be founded on these principles, just like Bernoulli's principle. Otherwise, we will never build a movement, and you'll just be wandering around. So I ask all of you, if you're serious, this is not about joining a fucking club. This is about learning physics. It's about learning science. It's about learning how to build something. You don't build a movement by just gee whiz building it. No, you have to understand the science. There is a physics. And if you go to Truth, Freedom, Health, and if you let go of your ego, you will learn how to do it. Start with Shatter the Swarm. Go through Get Off the Plantation. But that requires someone who's dedicated to actually getting off the butt and doing something. Most people ask very dumb questions. What do you think, Elon Musk? What do you think? My question is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? After hearing all the shit that I've shared with you for the last 3 hours, what are you going to fucking do? Are you going to help grow a movement that has figured it out, actually? Figured out the science, has a recipe, has the technologies, has the infrastructure. That's why I'm doing the space. I'm not doing the space just to wail on Elon. No, I'm doing the space to educate you guys that there is a foundational way to do this. That there is a physics, there is a knowledge, and anyone can learn it. But if you don't learn it, you're just going to be a fucking grifter, and you're going to get demoralized. You're going to create learned helplessness. So if you want to learn how to fight, you have to want to save yourself. There's no one coming to save you. That's why people sniffing up Booby's ass or Tulsi's ass are always going to be demoralized, because they don't understand the fundamental physics. They have a fucking line. They have a farm league. They have an infinite amount of Booby Kennedys in line. And they know many ways how to change the script a little bit so you follow them. We're building a real fucking movement. We want people to get their head out of their ass and ask real questions. We want people to be critical thinkers. Go to Shatter the Swarm. Go to Truth, Freedom, Health. Come to the open house. Get involved. We're pretty much in every part of the world now. You don't have an excuse. And you go back at my life and you'll see the consistency between my words and my deeds. Booby Kennedy tells you, your words and your deeds can be different. Okay? So for God's sakes, get real. Let's go to Zionist reparations. Add a speaker. And that'll be the last one, right, Alan? And we'll finish up with our two wonderful co-hosts after Zionist reparations. Oh, Elliot McGee wanted to go, and that's it. Go ahead, Zionist reparations.
Yes, Dr. Shiva, it's Mike, and I just want to say that the last caller, he's talking about a club. I think he's getting confused about the club that George Carlin used to speak about that you're not in, and it's a swarm. He's talking about the swarm. You're a bottoms-up movement. Anybody with half a fucking brain needs to be in this movement right now. It's incredibly important. And since this space is about the H-1B Indian visas, and I happen to believe America, Israel, Israel, America, pretty much the same thing. Could you just quickly address, I heard the other day somebody said 30% of IDF now are Indians. Could you elaborate on that? And why in the fuck are you not on a postage stamp in America? Have a great evening. Goodbye. By
the way, Mike is in Thailand, and Mike is a postal worker. Yeah, if I were a blue-eyed, blonde-haired fucking Zionist, I'd be on every postage stamp. You're looking at someone at the age of 14 who fucking invented email, period. And the amount of shit I had to go through just to share the facts about that is so fucked up. And the biggest white supremacists on this are not white people, Mike. It's fucking Indians. And Suresh will tell you that. It's quite funny. Suresh, you want to follow on anything with that?
Yeah, not about this, Dr.SHIVA. I agree. There should be a stamp, like the inventor of email, a true heroic story, a naturalized citizen coming here. And then you did something even bigger, like first naturalized citizen to run for the highest office.
And get on the ballot in 14 states.
Yep.
Which people said we could never do.
Mm-hmm. It was rough, but we learned a lot. That's why the previous caller, guys, you gotta join the movement. If you follow Dr. Shiva, if you go through his timeline, Dr. Shiva is clearly he is educating us like no one else is doing on planet Earth. Like you are getting lost with Vivek the Snake, Elon Musk. Oh, nobody's believing me. Yeah, they are supporting. They are one of the biggest Zionist cocksuckers. And if you see Dr. Shiva's recent timeline, he put up a wonderful video. And they're saying we create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write screenplay. We are the directors. We are the producers. We are the main actors. The world is our stage. So we have to come together. You're not going to do anything individually, going like a lone wolf. They are very organized. The people who want to subjugate us, they want to keep us divided, they want to maintain control. They are so organized and they are boasting it. They're going on 60 Minutes and saying we create a pretend world. And here we are fighting fucking Laura Loomer. She's a nobody. She has no job. Imagine being stuck in an elevator with that idiot, Nick Fuentes or Laura Loomer, on an island. These people they're not artisans, they're not craftsmen, they have no skills. Trump, Elon Musk, imagine being stuck with these people. They are zero. I would rather be stuck with Dr. Shiva or working people, carpenters, people who take the garbage away. They are the true people who move humanity forward, not these idiots who just want to talk and speak. They have no solutions, and we are getting distracted always talking about Elon Musk, all these useless people. They are not going to improve humanity. We are wasting time with these people.
Yeah,
so,
and by the way,
Suresh, to go to Shadow the Swamp.
Yeah, so here's what you need to do. Let's talk about what is to be done. If you are serious, if you want to save yourself, and you really want to solve the problem, and if you don't, after everything we've shared here and all the works that you've seen us do, then you're part of the problem. You really are. But if you want to solve the problem, number one, go to shattertheswarm.com. That's where you need to start. In 15 minutes, and have your children, everyone watch that. That took me 50 years to do that little video. I did it extemporaneously. Number two, go watch the 20-part course we put together, free. It's called Get Off the Plantation. Because at that point, you have to make a decision. Do you want to be a house nigga or a field nigga, as Malcolm X said? Because those set of videos will show you how they fuck you over and the system dynamics. Not just talking about being a victim, but how they do it in the many multitude of ways. And then you have to make a decision. Do you want to get off the fucking plantation? And when you want to get off the plantation, and if you decide, you will start asking real questions. Not like, what about Vivek the Snake? Oh, what about this? What about that? Should we get on? Sorry, Herb. You want to debate Jill Stein, Chase Oliver? It's all irrelevant. You will come to the conclusion that when you're off the plantation, you're off. You are a field nigger. You are a field slave. You don't rely on them. You get on the ground. You talk to your neighbors. You hand out these cards. Go to vashiva.com/cards. We have translated them into 56 different languages. You teach people how the cost of living is going up and lifespan is going down, that we have to mobilize our people. There's no other fucking way. You're whistling Dixie to think, oh, I'm going to do this on Spaces. I'm going to do this. No, you're fucking lazy. This is serious. If you are serious, go to Shadow the Swarm, then go get off the plantation and go become a warrior scholar. Help build this movement. It's building, but we can do it better with more people who are serious. We want critical thinkers. Critical thinking is seeing things as they truly are, not how you want them to be. And then when you find the truth, to share it with others. It's an active form. The enormous number of videos I've done have always told the truth at the right time. But my intention is to mobilize people here and now to shatter them. And I know how to do it. They thought I would go to MIT and get all these fucking degrees to suck their Zionist cock. I've been given many opportunities to be co-opted. I just can't fucking do it, guys. But I have figured out how to shatter them. And if you want to do it, you will get off your butt and do it. I've put in my time. The issue is, do you want to take advantage of these fruits, or do you want to be just talking? That's the question Suresh is putting forward to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alan.
As somebody who's I'd say as somebody who's taking the course right now, I highly recommend it. It's money very, very well spent. I think it's like $100. It's worth a lot.
Well, first of all, Alan, when we tried to give it away for free, no one wanted it. So we gave away the whole Plantation course. Some people have said, Dr. Shiva, you should like price it at $250,000 and then say, oh, we're going to give scholarships. But people are so fucked up with money. Mm-hmm. We gave it away for free. No one wanted it. People are so fucked up. But they will pay Trump $500, $1,000 for some fucking sneakers. They will give the average American has $400 in their bank account, and they're writing checks to fucking Donald Trump for $200, $500. Can you fucking believe this shit?
That's insane. What I'm saying is that I think it's good that people pay for it because it shows that it means something to them, and I'm saying it's worth a lot. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying from my experience. Other than that, I'd say that with social media, I think it's so important to understand that people, their information, their data is being collected, and they're going to hear exactly what they want to hear. So there's going to be so many silly, stupid people trapped in theater seats being entertained and accomplishing nothing. Okay? The entire grifter sphere is accomplishing nothing. They're just online posting all day. And I think, I would encourage people to gain the knowledge that's available in that course. Do it for selfish reasons. Be your own hero and kind of see what kind of doors it opens up within your own brain and how that will open up doors of action in your own life. And that's what I would encourage people to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to get serious. We need to get organized. Don't get distracted by all these H-1B, Elon Musk, Zog, Flat Earth, aliens.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the Earth is flat and they're aliens, they're not going to change the fact that cost of living is going up and lifespan is coming down and you're being fucked. Whether the Earth is flat or not, you're going to be fucked. The issue is, what are you doing to build a bottoms-up movement to shatter the swarm? And I'm telling you, 2025 is going to be the inflection point when the ramp up of AI and robotics is going to go to such a level. They want more people out of the workforce. They want to make more people dumb, and they just want to eliminate you. It's going to be think or die. It's pretty much it. All right. I think we've had a good discussion. In the interest of time, we promised we'd end at 2300 hours. I want to thank Suresh and Alan for joining us. In summary, I hope everyone understands everything that the swarm does is motivated on one singular thing, that you don't get off your ass and build a bottoms-up movement. And there's only one fucking force right now that's doing this on this planet, and that's the movement for truth, freedom, health. We're the only opposition remaining. Everyone else has capitulated or become demoralized. That's where we're at. And we have stayed firm and true all the way through. So number one, go to Shatter the Swarm. Number two, go to truthfreedomhealth.com and come to our orientation, vashiva.com/orientation. And it's an opportunity for you. Like Alan said, be selfish. Save your fucking self. No one is coming to save you. I am not here to save you. No one is coming to save you. But what I am here to do is I'm going to, like Bernoulli or Maxwell, share with you the knowledge that I've uncovered that took me years on how do we shatter the swarm. There are fundamental principles. And the knowledge that I've uncovered is what the elites learn to manipulate you and suppress you. But we can use that knowledge for truth, freedom, health. And that's what this is about. And if you get it, great. If you don't get it, well, you will have to go through your process of suffering. And you'll have to go through your process of sniffing up this or that. And some of you are actually on the other side, and you're here to sniff out what we're up to. And to those people, I say, fuck you. Okay. Alan, any final things? Suresh?
Yeah. Final thing is we need to organize. If you look at it, reminded me, Dr. Shiva, in India, the British lawmakers were passing laws to rape India. They were empowering East India Company to go and rape India, and these lawmakers had they were basically the shareholders of East India Company. Similarly, the lawmakers here, they don't look after you. They prioritize corporate profits, shareholder values. So it's important for us to get organized. We have this movement. Come join us. Nobody is coming to save us.
Exactly. Alan?
Yeah, I'd say in closing, thank you for allowing me to participate in this. Dr. Shiva, Suresh, it was nice to meet you. But yeah, in closing, I'd say that, people will invite Dr. Shiva on, oh, come on this space, go on that space, come to my podcast. There's very, very, very few voices that are worth listening to. And I think tonight you've listened to some that are worth listening to. And I would encourage you all to listen to yourselves and use your own inner compass to decide who is full of shit and who is actually worth listening to. So I listen to these spaces. I listen to Dr. Shiva's content. I take the course because he's one of probably one, maybe two people that should be worthy of your attention, because 99% of these people on the internet are not. And I think that's a really important thing to be aware of moving forward.
All right, Alan, thank you, everyone. Have a good night. I wish you guys all a good weekend. And again, go to truthfreedomhealth.com, shatter the swarm, and come to the orientation, which we do every Thursdays at 11 a.m. for all of Europe. And then we do it again at 8 p.m. If you want to RSVP, go to vashiva.com/orientation. But we've created a framework for people to get involved in whatever ways they want to. All right, be well. Be the light. Thank you, Alan. And I'm going to sign off on StreamYard here, Suresh, and then I'll sign off here too. Thank you, everyone. Be well. Thank you. I'm going to just play the end logo. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.